Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow, helping our people get their funds, get their wealth, get their finances in shape. How are you doing today, Thomas Doty?
I am happy to be alive.
That is very good for you to say something like that, especially off of coming. I'm so glad the election is behind us now and we can get on with our lives. So, last week we talked about year end 2024 tax moves to make. We hope you paid attention. And if you were not able to catch that show, please go out on Facebook Live and go into our archives and you will be able to get that show because those are some things that you really need to do to prepare for 2025 because after December the 31st, it's too late. And Uncle Sam always gets his man and his woman. And don't forget about, and for me, is Aunt Merlin. For you, is Aunt North Carolina. No, you in North Carolina. Yeah, you are in North
I'm in
Carolina.
South Carolina.
That's right. Your aunt is out Aunt South Carolina, the state side. So make sure you go back and look at that show. Good evening, everyone around the country and around the world. We've had a interesting election, man. I mean, it was so unpredictable. But you know what is so interesting, though? The effect. Well, I don't know. I'll let you talk about it.
I ain't gonna talk about it.
No. Let me finish what I'm going to say. Let me finish what I'm going to say. What I was going to say is I'll let you talk about was it effect or was not the effect to the stock market because the stock market took off yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was from the election or was it. That's what I meant. No, we're not getting into the other stuff.
Definitely, it was the result of the election.
Yeah, and then the Fed increased the rates again.
That was going to happen anyway.
That was going to happen, but we might need to talk a little bit about what is that going to have an effect? Because now they're saying, wait a minute, maybe they should have held up the way the market took off. Because now it's affecting the bond market, though. And they worried about the bond market because that's what this country we make a lot of money selling our bonds at low interest, but they going low. I don't know. So. With that, well, before I go any further, you all, we got to give the disclaimer so y'all don't get it caught up. We are not fiduciaries, okay? We're not getting financial advice. We're just teaching, giving you financial education. So make sure you know the difference. We're not selling any products, but what we are doing, we're trying to educate people. And dope, this is our 174th show, right? 174.
Wow, that's a bunch.
Yeah, and that's over about 2.5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would just saw half our shows, you would be doing very, very well right now. I mean, am I right about it, Dope?
Yeah, show the update. It kind of shows this year what we've done.
Yes, it's incredible, man. It's incredible. You can't lose the stuff we use. You can't miss with this.
I never heard that one. You always got those lines, man.
So
okay, let's talk about this update, and it's been a crazy 2 days since the election, and the market is reacting to the fact that Donald Trump is a very pro-business president, or will be, or was, and will be a very pro-business president. And if you look at what the market did the past week, a lot of this happened in the last 2 days. You can see the S&P is up almost 5%. NASDAQ's up 6.5%. And my portfolio did tremendous. Microsoft's up 19 points. The new one I bought, Brady, is up 5 points. Apple isn't doing much. There's some little bit of concern with Apple, but I think it's going to be okay in the long run. And part of that has to do, some of that has to do with the fact that Trump's talking about putting tariffs on a lot of things coming from other countries. And Apple sells a lot of iPhones in China. So we'll see how that works. HP, Hewlett Packard, that one's up $1. My favorite stock in the whole wide world is NVIDIA, which is doing like crazy good. This is an all-time high. It's up to 149. It's up 16 points. And Google's up 9 points. And again, that's the result of the fact that the Justice Department was investigating Google. And under the Trump administration, again, they're a lot more lenient when it comes to business. So there probably will be less scrutiny on some of the big techs than have been in the past. And so to answer Bob's original question, yeah, I think President Trump's election was the driving force behind the big market increase. People are looking for a lot of pro-tax, pro-business things like tax cuts, less regulation, which is, there's good and bad to everything. So just be aware of that. So yeah, the market's going great, but it's just like with tariffs. You can have tariffs, and that can be inflationary, because what that does, it will increase the price and pass it on to consumers. So again, that's what we're going to talk about today, is the influence of this Trump administration on your finances and things you should do to prepare for that and get you ready to react to what's going on.
The name of today's show is Trump's Presidency and Your Finances, though. And a lot of this is just speculative on his past term. We really don't know what, but these are some of the things that are possible that we're going to be talking about. But Dope, looking at this stock market, knowing this has come off of the election, my statement today is don't get mad, do something. Or another way to put it, if you can't beat them, join them. We've been talking about being in the market, though. Not that it's for everybody. Let me get this straight. But we have been consistent, and the market has been returning, though. And I don't know how it's going to do under the Trump administration, but the last time it did very well. But remember, past performance is no indicator of future returns. Just want to remind you all of that. And Dope, with the stock market, the daggone cryptocurrency market took off. I'm talking about the market cap for cryptocurrency increased 9%, $231 billion. The Bitcoin, Dope, from last week is up $5,668. It's now at $76,090 per Bitcoin.
And you know why? Because Trump is pro-crypto.
Pro-crypto. And you know, I don't know if you noticed about this thing called BRICS with like 5 countries like South America, Russia, South America, Russia. A couple of these trying to do this global currency thing, and they actually are leaning on cryptocurrency, by the way. So I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but once again, the Ethereum is up. Ethereum is up 17% to $2,940. That's $422 up. And look at Solana has moved from number 5, though now it's at number 4 at $198. A cryptocurrency of Solana up 17%, up $29. And Dogecoin moved up from the 9th position to the 8th position. It's up 25%. It's at 20 cents now. Remember, it was down as low as 10 cents at one time. So all the markets, all the indicators are up, and as we always say, it's important. One way to build wealth is through the stock market. We really don't push cryptocurrency, but we both have it, and we encourage you, if you do, just remember it's highly speculative and know what you're dealing with, because anytime you're dealing outside of the top 10, it could be even greater risk as it is. So, Dope, let's get into
my crypto money is up 4 times. I got 4 times more than I put into it.
Mine is up 2 times. I got in late, though, but mine is up 2 times.
Yeah, and one more thing, but can you go back to the update chart? And I just want to make this point. If you guys look at the year to date percent change, that's the far right column. Those are some awful healthy numbers. And again, we aren't saying the stock market's for everybody, but it behooves you to at least consider doing the work, analyzing, and picking some stock. The lowest performer is Microsoft, and again, that's 13%. But realize too, they also pay a decent dividend, so their actual full return is more than that. But you look at some of the others. We'll skip Brady and HP because those are pretty new to my portfolio. But the Nvidia, the Google, the Apple, they've all done really, really well. It's hard not to make money in times like this when the market is thriving, and do the work, do the analysis, find some stocks. And even if you just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about picking stocks. I just want to do an S&P index fund, either a mutual fund or an EFT. S&P is up 26% this year. I mean, if you put $100 in the S&P index fund, right now you got $126. And that's way better than getting 4 or 5% in a CD or less than 1% in a savings account. So it's not easy to do. You got to do some analysis. You got to do some work, but at least consider educating yourself on the stock market and then consider investing and like Bob said, all returns aren't going to be like this. This could all go down tomorrow. It could be zero tomorrow. Probably won't. And we've showed you charts time and time again that shows over the long term, S&P averages between 9 and 10%. So over the long term, that's what you're going to make.
If we just take the last 10 years, which is interesting because it hasn't been that way. The last 10 years, the market has been going up, man. I mean, it's amazing, man. It's like the current close for the NASDAQ is at 19,000. When Obama came in, it was at 6,500. When Trump went out, it was at 16,000. Now look at it at 19,000. And gold is now, I don't know how your gold fund, because usually gold
is doing good.
Say it again?
See, my gold fund, I'm up about 30% on that.
Right. But usually
I'm up 24% in my gold fund.
Yeah. Well, usually it's a hedge, right? The gold, when stocks and everything's going up, gold, but the gold, the actual physical gold, holding ounces, physical gold, it's up $7 from today per ounce, and it's up over $2,700 per ounce, and I'm up over so I got it at 1,000. So that's about that's
what is it up to now?
2,700.
2,700, and you got in at 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, you up 2.7, 270%.
207. Wow. Yeah. So I like to say, y'all, we just saying we're not bragging. I hope you don't think that's what this is about. We're just trying to use facts and simple research. And don't, these stocks that are in your portfolio, these are what they call blue chip stocks.
Right. And most of them are on the tech side. And Bob and I decided we're not going to be political.
Right.
But I do have to mention that I decided to sell Tesla because of the craziness that Elon Musk was spewing on his website. And it was basically lies. And I got to honestly say, I really believed that stock was going to go crazy when Trump was elected. And that happened. But I'm truly blessed to be in a position that I can bypass the earnings I would have made based on principle. And so I decided to sell Tesla, knowing it was going to go crazy. But I just don't want to make money like that from people that I don't think are straight up or worthy. So that's a decision I made.
And the thing is, you did make money though.
Oh, I made money on Tesla, but I knew I was going to make a lot more, and I knew if Trump was elected, that the big thing that he's going to do for Tesla, if he does put the tariffs on China, that's going to stop the Chinese electric cars from coming here, which is going to obviously give Tesla a huge advantage because they are way ahead of everybody else. But the Chinese can do it much cheaper. So when the tariffs hit and people won't buy the Chinese cars because they'll be too expensive, guess who's going to profit? Guess whose stock's going to go even crazier?
And no, not only about electric cars, do you know that China are the makers of a lot of the batteries?
Oh yeah,
that are in these cars.
Yeah, but that's why I sold Tesla. If anybody's wondering why, I knew it was going to make a lot of money, but I'm in a position where I can say that's money I don't need.
Good for you, though. Good for you. And you know, sometimes it's is it Kenny Rogers? You got to know when to hold them, when to fold them. So dope. I wanted to make sure I made that point about gold. Silver is up too, by the way, dope. Silver is up to $31 an ounce, and it was down to $16 an ounce when when Trump was in and Obama. So that's even going up. But the bond market is taking a beating, dope. For you, some of you all have treasury bonds. You know, it's the inverted effect, right? When interest rates go up, stock market bonds go down. So they're taking a beat, and they're kind of worried about the bond market.
You said that backwards. You mean when interest rates go down? Yeah.
No.
Interest rates are going down. And
bond prices go up. I didn't mean to say that. I had to do
right.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say it that way. Thank you, though. But yes. So, because why? You can get a better, rate. Then why would you get a bond? You'll go for the higher rate, interest rates, right? That's the theory.
But the thing is, because I know a lot of people are probably wondering why aren't mortgage rates going down? Because mortgage rates aren't based on short-term rates.
Right.
They're based on more longer-term rates. And there's still some uncertainty when you look 10 years out. And I think that's why those rates are not coming down when the Fed cuts the rates. So that's why mortgage rates aren't going down. They're more influenced by the 10-year bond rates as opposed to the short-term rates. So if anybody's wondering why aren't mortgage rates going down with the interest rate cuts and their savings account and the CDs, that's the reason.
And before we get into today's topic, one last information about that, like what you just said, by the Fed cutting the rates again by a quarter point, that will affect your high yield savings accounts. Your savings accounts, y'all. Those kind of things, your treasuries and stuff. And I mean, for 6 months it'll hold, but after 6 months, those going to affect those investments. Money markets, CDs, all of those interest rates usually have a direct. When they lower the rates, it's a direct effect on those. It's not right away because actually people understand the Fed rate is what banks lend to each other, but then it comes down and trickles down to the public products. Well, with that, let's talk about. Look, people are so up in arms, man. So let's talk about today, and we're not getting into no negative or why or who or politics, but we just want to talk about what this election of Donald Trump winning, how that can affect you so you can position yourself. I mean, nobody really know, but let's start it off, though.
Okay, and Trump's back will be back president again next January, and he's made a lot of promises, which all politicians do.
Right.
Make a lot of promises about what they're going to do. Very few follow up. Sometimes they don't have the support. They don't have both the House and the Senate that he does. So he should be able to do a lot of the things that he's talked about doing, but some of them just don't make sense. And there's also some things that's going to affect that. Life is going to make things not happen. Like he talked about cutting Social Security, the tax on Social Security payments. And that thing's already set to go out of, to be out of money in 2031. So to reduce revenues on that probably wouldn't make sense. So it probably won't happen. But a couple things that will probably happen, very, very, very likely to happen. And the first thing is the tax cut. And we've told you about that. The tax cuts that he implemented back when he was president before actually expire at the end of 2025. So you can expect to see that extended. And there'll probably be some other tax cuts coming along. But there's also some reasons to be a little nervous because the deficits were crazy high under him. And with some of the things he's talking about doing, they'll also be pretty high. And so that might create some problems as far as how that's going to work out. So from your perspective, you got to have a plan. You got to have a long-term financial plan that's flexible so you can adapt to all these things that may happen and you can take advantage of some of the things that are going to happen and increase your wealth.
Now, though the Republicans also has regained control of the Senate, while the final split of the House of Representatives is still in flux. And the reason why I say that is because many of Trump's proposals require the approval of the Congress. And that could be a game changer if, the Democrats take over the Congress. That could put a little, because some things he cannot do. He cannot have executive orders. Some things have to be approved. And remember, it is Congress that approves the purse string. Policies and things are approved by the Senate, but Congress has the purse strings. They're the ones where the funding comes in at. Now, while we're talking about some of these potential moves, I want to emphasize that they are purely speculative. Today, we talked about, based on Trump's previous term and his campaign promises. Now, the actual outcome could vary widely between a range of factors like things that global economic situation can affect things. These are things outside of Trump. Ongoing legal battles and specific policies enacted during his potential second term. So you should never bet on one particular scenario. The wisest course is sticking to smart, fundamental investing principles, no matter who is in the White House, no matter what the political climate. Diversifying your portfolio, which me and Doe emphasize all the time, is we almost like a broken record. It is always the smart move. Now, while some tactical shifts aligned with expected policies do make sense, that's getting ready to come down the line, stay balanced and keep perspective, keep informed, and keep in focus on what's going on so you can make the adjustments when needed. Don't lose sight of your risk tolerance and your long-term goals. So, Doe, let's kick it off.
Okay, the first thing I mentioned taxes above. That's the thing that's going to affect you the most. Okay, and I think the first thing that'll happen is they'll extend that tax cut that they implemented in 2017, because otherwise things would go back to the tax rates that were in effect in 2016. So they expired it next year, and I think that they'll probably find a way to extend that. You got to realize the impact on that tax cut wasn't equal across the board. I mean, the average taxpayer saw their taxes reduced by about $1,600 in 2018. But if you earned over $300,000, somewhere between $300,000 and $700,000, you got a huge tax cut. I mean, it was very, 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 very nice. I'll just say it like that. And probably the same thing is going to happen again. It's going to be skewed to benefit the rich at the expense of the middle class. Some of the tax proposal he's talking about now would actually cut taxes for the top 5% of the wealthy Americans, but it might have a slight increase for all other income groups. So we got to wait and see how that's all going to shake out. They're talking about replacing personal income taxes with tariffs. His new plan would put a 10% tariff across the board on foreign imports, and even higher tariffs on China. So we'll see how that all shakes out too. I think there's a lot of negotiation to be had. He's talking about lowering the corporate tax rate by 1%. And again, that's going to benefit the businesses by putting more money in their pocket. He's talking about R&D credits for businesses that allow businesses to write off 100% of expenses like machinery and equipment in the first year, which again will have a very, very strong effect on their taxes. It will reduce their taxes and actually increase the cash that they have in their pocket. He talked about no tax on tips. And that's one of those things that you say that sounds good, but it really doesn't get to the problem of tipped workers a lot of times being underpaid. But I wouldn't expect any push towards an increase in minimum wage under a Republican administration. That probably won't happen because that wouldn't be good for business. And those aren't the only things he's talking about. He talked about eliminating tax. I mentioned eliminating taxes on Social Security, eliminating taxes on overtime pay and tips. But that's something that will be discussed with his the rest of his group. And they're talking about putting something out in the first 100 days. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But those are the general guidelines of what he's expecting to do from a tax perspective.
Yeah, well, though, one thing, while, President-elect Trump, he needs Congress to legislate tax policy changes. He can't just do that. But he may use his executive authority to push through other priorities, meaning like tariffs. Now, aside from taxes, voters can expect Trump to take action on tariffs, once he's back, because he's laid out an ambitious plan to levy tariffs on imported goods in hopes of creating manufacturing jobs back here. He's thinking that, he put all these tariffs on the overseas people, then they'll bring those jobs back. That's the theory. And that this would decrease the national deficit. Now, his proposed tariff is up to 20% of goods that come from most foreign countries, though that number climbs, to 60% for items from China and as high as 100% for imports from Mexico. So, man, that's major. Whether he do it or not, we see, but that's what he's proposing. Now, though Trump swears other countries will bear the financial burdens of the tariffs, experts said, Americans will actually end up paying more because businesses will raise these prices to be able to cope. Now, Trump's tariffs will cost the average American household about $2,600 annually, $2,600. And already, executives like the AutoZone, they have admitted they're planning on price hikes to offset the cost of Trump's tariff. Now, Mark Zandi, who I had the privilege to meet and talk to, he's one of the top economists for Moody's, and he said that the tariffs on the scale proposed will act as a massive tax increase on American families, and they will be paying more for imports, cutting into purchasing power and weighing heavily on spending in the overall economy.
Yeah, and the next thing we want to talk about is the debt and deficits. And that's, that's one of those things that hasn't been discussed and not talked about, but there's always cause and effect. You can't just give out tax cuts and not have money to pay for it. So extending the tax cuts from 2017 for the next 10 years could add like $4.6 trillion to the federal deficit. That's a lot of money. And so Democrats, the Republicans who usually consider themselves fiscally responsible, probably won't want to do that. So I got to believe there's going to be some give and take in how big the tax cuts are and the effect on the deficit. And right now, the deficit is extremely high, and the current, like now they basically suspended the debt limit, and that ends on January 1st, 2025. At that point, the Treasury Secretary may have to invoke some very extraordinary measures so that the government can continue to pay its bills. And that might delay debt ceiling talks until this summer, just because it is getting to the point of being dangerously high. And the government has been running deficits for years, but it really wasn't a problem because the service on that debt was paid with very, very low interest rates because interest rates were so low. But as we're going now with the higher interest rates, the U.S. is expected to spend more money on debt interest this year than it does on national defense. That just gives you an idea of how big, one, the deficit is and the effect of interest rates. So U.S. government debt relative to GDP has tripled in the past 2 decades, but it hasn't been a significant issue, again, because the debt service or the interest payments were always low. So if interest rates stay where they are today, this fiscal debate of how much to increase the deficit could create some market volatility, interest rate volatility, and it could cause some situations in the financial market. So we'll see how that goes.
That's something to be concerned about. Now, Doe, what does this mean for investors? Now, investors also often feel more bullish when their preferred party is in power and more bearish when the opposing party is in office. Now, while policies do matter, history has shown that markets are non-partisan. I saw a chart, Doe, that after almost every election, the stock market did well. I'm talking about either for Democrats or Republicans, and this is proven historically. They have risen under nearly every partisan combination. Now, although it can be tempting to let initial feelings of optimism or pessimism drive one's investing strategy, a sound course of action is to make a long-term plan that meets your needs and goals and just stick with it. Now, one of the things what Donald Trump has shown in the past is he has shown, given his extensive real estate background, it's reasonable to expect continued policies aimed at bolstering real estate markets will probably happen. So one of the things you might want to consider investing in real estate, because real estate in a Trump era, which Trump understands well, he enacted policies in the past favorable to the sector in his first term. And another thing that you may consider investing in is real estate investment trusts, or actual properties could be rewarding if that support continues from a Trump-backed office.
Okay, let's talk about inflation, which was a big issue for this election. And so right now, inflation has already slowed down. It's down close to the Fed's 2%. It's right around 2.4% now, but it's way off some of the highs that we saw early this year and mostly last year. So Trump has promised to lower prices and slow inflation, but anybody with a brain knows the president has limited ability to do that. So he's talking about putting tariffs again. We keep mentioning that. And truth be known, adding tariffs could be inflationary. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. He's talked about lowering gas prices, and he's pledged to increase oil and gas production on federal land. But again, the president's ability to lower gas prices is limited because the price that you pay at the pump is more influenced by global market forces as opposed to what happens here. Okay, another thing he's talked about is weakening the power of the Federal Reserve and moving that under government control. And that could be tricky too, because it could weaken their credibility, and it could make interest rate decisions a little more helter-skelter. Another thing he's talked about was capping credit card interest rates at around 10%. That's another one of those things that's nice to say, but I think when the banking lobby gets their hands on that, they'll pour a lot of money into making sure that that doesn't happen, because the average interest rate amount now is about 21.5%. And you'd need Congress to enact something like that, and that would definitely face legal pushback and a strong lobby effort.
Whew, that's a lot. Let's talk a little bit about healthcare, though. As we know, Trump's position in the past, he tried to get rid of the Obamacare, and when he found out he couldn't, now they're calling it the Affordable Care Act. They don't call it that anymore. But House Speaker Mike Johnson, he has promised massive healthcare changes on the campaign trail, and adding that healthcare reform is going to be a big part of Trump's second term agenda. That's just what he said. And that means sweeping changes. But the interesting thing, they're unclear of what it's going to be. Now, Trump tried to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act in his first term so many times. But obviously, he was unsuccessful because over 40 million people are on affordable care or Obamacare. Let's just call it what it is. Now, he's thinking about trying again, but Trump said he, in his political campaign, in the debate, he said he has concepts of a new plan. No one knows what that is, but we can expect that they're trying to make some changes to healthcare for people. Now, IVF, the in vitro fertilization covers. Trump has said the government or insurance companies should cover IVF, though many Republicans oppose the idea, but Trump has said he's for that. And a lot of people have had births because of IVF, and that's like a non-partisan issue, by the way, but we'll see. And we all know about abortion. He said he left the abortion up to the states. But looking forward, Trump says he intends to reel in out of control healthcare and prescription drug costs, and he wants to strengthen Medicare per his platform. And a lot of people saying he was going to mess with Medicare, and they were nervous. But what he's saying, and once again, we'll see. But going to go by what he says, he wants to promote choice, competition, and the services for veterans. And as far as specific reform goes, once again, Trump only says he has concepts, but those in the kind of ballpark things that he had. If you listen to some of these things is what Kamala Harris was talking about doing, which they did. They lowered the prescription drugs for elders, but she's trying to lower it for all people. At least he's trying to do that too.
Yeah, let's talk about student loans and trying to curb debt cancellation. He's likely not going to support any broad student loan cancellation, or he won't strengthen any of the current forgiveness plans that Biden Harris administration has championed. He's also said that access to existing loan forgiveness should be restricted. So if you have a loan out there, then you're probably going to have to pay it under the current administration. He's also talking about striking down SAVE, and that's a repayment plan based on how much you make. And right now that's caught up in legal challenges. So that's up for debate anyway, but he won't be pushing that. And he's probably, I mean, if you think about things that hurt business, he probably won't push. You think about things that are pro-business, he probably will push. And that's just a very simplistic way of thinking about what's happening. But the truth is probably somewhere in between. So we'll just have to wait and see. The other thing that he said that kind of makes some sense is supporting vocational training. In his platform, he talked about supporting drastically more affordable alternatives to a traditional four-year college. And if you think about that, that degree, four-year college degree, is becoming less and less important. There are a lot fewer jobs, and there's always a strong need for some of the skills that you get from vocational training. And a lot of those guys make a whole lot of money, and college isn't for everyone. So that's one that kind of makes some sense, but we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, my daughter, under the public service loan forgiveness program, she had some debt remaining on her student loans because she has a college degree and 2 masters, and they postponed it, right? It's because she thought she had gotten across the finish line, man. They came back and said, nope, it's on postponement. And just the other day, last week, they called back and told her they have zeroed out her loans under the public loan forgiveness program.
Good for her.
It was double digits in the thousands. She made out, and she's got the document, and she got it in. So for all of you all who trying to get it, work on that, especially the public service loan forgiveness, who are like, public workers, public government workers, school teachers, firemen, policemen. Y'all need to really push on that right now, because that's one of the things that he's definitely talking about.
Hey, Bob, is that taxable? And I know a lot of forms of loan forgiveness are taxable according to the tax code. So if you do have some or get some, make sure you talk to your accountant and make sure you aren't missing paying some taxes. And I think the way the government looks at it, if you owe $10,000 and somebody forgives $6,000, you have $6,000 of income that you have to recognize. So and I'm not sure if there's a provision in that makes it not taxable, but if you do, check it out.
That I do know, that the public service loan forgiveness, for the most part, is not taxable.
Okay, just make sure you check it out.
But that's a good statement, though. Check it out. But that one, that is. Though one of the last ones I want to talk about, I kind of mentioned a little bit. Is housing. Now, Trump's plan has been very limited when it comes to housing. And if you remember, that was one of the big policy plans in Kamala Harris about giving people, first-time homeowners, a $25,000, lead into getting a house. And she was really pushing that. But actually, experts said that his plan to deport millions of unauthorized immigrants could drive up housing prices. I'm like, how is that possible? Why would that do that? It's because the construction industry is reliant on immigrant labor. But, so that's how the housing prices can go up. I never thought about that. But here's some of the proposals that, he's talking about. And she was talking, actually, it's so many things that she was talking about Trump is doing, that we're proposing to do. And I think that's good. So everybody who's panicking about the sky's falling, it's not as bad as you may think it is. It's bad, but not as bad as you think it is. Because he wants to open up federal lands for new housing development. And Kamala Harris was talking about expanding new housing developments too, so people could build more houses, right? And they were asking her the same thing, how they're going to do it, because neither Trump or Harris had specific lands that they wanted to include in this. But experts say most of the federal held land would not be ideal for creating new housing. So there is precedence for using federal land to build housing. But what's interesting, the most available land is out west. So, one other proposals, and Trump is a big person on cutting or reducing regulatory burdens. And believe it or not, that's a bipartisan support. Both houses want to cut the red tape when it comes to most housing reform. And, but all of that goes down to the local level that really have impact. But at least those are some of the same things that bipartisan people are looking for, cutting red tape and making it more available. So that's a great silver lining, though, in this new Trump that we can look forward to, and I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, with that, Dope, we covered a lot. Does anybody have any questions out there? Please put them in the comment box. Is there something that you might want to inquire about? Something we didn't cover, something we did cover, need clarification, or just a whole nother, question that you have about personal money management? Please put it in the comment box, because we encourage that, because we get more algorithms when you put stuff in the comment box. So with that, Dope, let's go to our summary and takeaways.
Okay, I'll take the first one. And this one fits my personality to a T, because I'm pretty black and white and straightforward, and Bob's a little more caring, much more caring person than I am. But hey, the election's over, okay? I know it's taking some people longer to get through the fog if they're upset with the decision, but it's over. Sit back, adjust your path, and try to figure out how to make the best of it. It's not going to change. The situation is not going to change. It's time for you to move forward and look at your financial plan and think about how you can make it work.
The next one is look for opportunities. Okay, I know times it seems like there's lots going on, it's chaos, you all, but no, this is the perfect time to look for opportunities. Look at the stock market took off yesterday and today, and it's expected to do even better. So look for those opportunities, y'all. Don't get mad. Get active, because you know what I'm saying. There's so many opportunities out there still, you all. I know a lot of people, feels that the election has changed your mood, but this is just a different day. Same thing, different day, you all. We need to really do the research, y'all, because there's still some interesting ways, and you don't have to take a lot of risk, and you don't take a lot of money. But you need to look into it. So look at some more opportunities out there, because they're out there.
Yeah, and it's things we've talked about whenever we do this presentation is to get your house in order. Pay down your debt. Make sure you're investing. Make sure you're reviewing your portfolio. Make sure you understand your risk tolerance. But if your house is in order, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter what political craziness happens in the Middle East or in Russia or in Europe or anywhere else. If your financial house is in order, if you've got your will straight, your trust straight, and your beneficiaries up to date, none of that stuff matters, because you'll be on a solid financial plan. So get your own stuff together. And just like with anything else, there's good, bad in every situation. It's how you decide to attack those things. You can sit back and continue to complain about the bad things that will happen in the Trump administration, as opposed to taking advantage of the things that you can take advantage of. And believe me, if Kamala had won, there'd be some negative financial impacts to her also. So shouldn't matter who's president when it comes to you taking care of your own house getting your own financial plan in order and preparing yourself for a strong financial future.
So, I want to give a roll call shout out to my sisters, Linda, Nolia, and Gloria. They're all on. And Nolia and Gloria, I hope your prayer call conference, it was a prayer call conference they had last week. They said they couldn't be on there. And that's a good reason why me and Doe didn't mind y'all being on, that you could. Prayer is good. And just want to thank my sisters. I love y'all so much. Garnett Nickens, always there. Hello, Garnett. How you doing, dear? You're looking you look marvelous. And Modestine always opens up. Good afternoon from Lexington, South Carolina. You becoming a South Kakalaki. And Joanne, what's up, Joanne Skinner? Another FDIC, wonderful, wonderful FDIC employee. Carl Chapman, my little brother, how you doing? Hope all is going well for you. And the wonderful Now. How you doing now? What's going on now, Dodie? Thank you for being out there with us. I think I covered everybody. And Dope, I normally close with a quote of the week. But Dope, I got to say this one, and I know you're going to get on me, but this is personal. This is personal. And we usually don't go here. And I'm not touting myself, but Dope, for 2.5 years, and I know the election got a lot of people upset, and I get it, but Dope, for 2.5 years, we've been on here giving people information. And I hear people talking about, well, the economy and this and the prices and all of this. But we've been providing free information. If you would have just taken seen half of our shows and did half of what we said, I'm not trying to boast or brag. It's fact. Me and Dope, we only talk about facts. We're not trying to pump ourselves up. We only use our portfolios and our situations and choices to show you that anybody can do this. We're not better than anybody. But it hurts me, though, when I see people panicking from this election and they're not taking care of their own personal finances. I know, and I'm going to end the Dope because I know you're going to get on me. I'm going to end it. But there are people, there are young people. You should be telling your grandkids, your kids, I don't care if they're 30, 40, if they're struggling, they need to be listening to the show, though. And I'm not saying that because we are doing the show. I hear young black men say they wasn't voting. This is from the horse's mouth. Talking to young black men saying they wouldn't vote for Trump, but they wasn't voting for Kamala because he said, what has she done for black people? You know what I say to them? What have you done for black people? And the only reason why I say that, though, is, once again, we're doing something. So my quote this week is, don't get sad, do something, like Michelle Obama said. And Dope, I just got to tote, I'm sorry, me and you, we're trying to do something. We're trying to do something here, y'all. And it's a shame we don't have more people on. We're not selling anything. We don't get no gratification. We ain't no souped up. We ain't no narcissist, if that's a word. And so, Dope, I had to get that off my chest because so many people are hurting, and it's just distraction. Y'all, we need to do the things because, like Dope said, if you get your house in order, it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat, a tsunami, a pandemic. If you get your house in order, you will be able to withstand. It will be a shock, but you will be able to absorb the shock because your house is in order. And that's all we've been talking about for over 2.5 years, 174 shows. It breaks my heart, though. It's family, some of my family, that's my sisters, and they're on here every week. And some of my family members are not on here, and I'm not trying to call them out, and they're struggling. And then they talk about, I didn't vote because, or this, the sky is falling. Oh, Trump is getting, no, man. So I ended with this though.
Well, and let me just add to that, and I only say, under the Trump administration, a lot of things may happen that you don't want to happen, but there are opportunities to build wealth, and it's just a matter of you taking advantage of them. And we'll try to show you some ways to do that.
And with that, though, I said I wasn't going to end with a quote, but I am. Life is really tough, but it's even tougher if you're stupid. Look, have a wonderful week, y'all. I got that off my chest, though. I know you're going to get.
I see you did.
Thank you all for tuning in. We have a family. Oh, we all have them families. Yeah, okay. Rodney was leaving a message out there, the note experience.com. He said, we all have them in our families, and we do. But I'm going to end again, y'all. Tell more people. That's all me and Dodo are asking you. Tell more people about this show. Not for us, we're okay.
Yeah.
No, we okay. We don't have to do this show.
Right.
So I'm telling you, man, I'm talking about tell your mailman, your hairdresser, something. Y'all need to get people on here because I'm telling you, you can't lose with the stuff we use, and you can't miss with this. All right, no more quotes for the week. Have a good one, y'all. We love everybody. And I hope I didn't step on any toes, but normally I do. I got big feet. Have a good day. Peace.